And I'll see you guys over on the Diddy stream. Peace. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sean Atwood channel. I am Ron Swanson. We are live once again to talk about the Diddy case. Why am I so red, man? Right. I don't understand how I'm illuminated in red. There's nothing red here. There is nothing red. I don't get it. Oh, man, that is oversaturation at its finest. All right, so let me just bring up everything that's going on here, because it's gone a bit crazy. Right, Uber, are you there?
I'm here, mate.
Right, nice one. I need to go to the loo. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of like body analysis work, because we are going to probably do a lot more body analysis thing work together. And I'm also Pamela. I can see Pamela in the side. When I get back, I'll bring the girls in and we can get caught up with what's going on. But I will leave you in Uber's capable hands for the next 5 minutes, my people.
Hello, guys. He's got a death wish, and he's leaving me in charge. Yeah, okay, so non-verbals. I've got to be honest, I lean more towards statement analysis now. I just have more of a knack for language, always have done ever since I was a kid. But what we look for and what Chase Hughes says to us so many times is being good with body language. Hello, wits end, how are you doing, sweetheart? Getting good at detecting body language is about getting good at detecting change, which is why it's so important in body language to get a baseline. And that's a bit of time where you spend with the subject, just chatting and asking questions that you know he's not going to lie to you about and you already know the answer to. Get a baseline, see what they're like. And then what we're looking for is indicators of stress. So fidgeting is an indicator of stress, because what happens is when somebody's being deceptive, it causes stresses in the brain. So what happens is the brain has to do three things, and Greg Hartley is one to tell us this all the time. Excuse me, your brain has to do three things. It has to stop the truth from coming out, it has to make up the lie, and it then has to deliver the lie. Now that causes a cognitive overload in the frontal cortex, in the neocortex. And that's where all our learning stuff takes place. So what's basically happening is our cognitive part of the brain is trying to stop the limbic system from pushing the right information out there through our speech and our actions. But it causes an overload called cognitive dissonance. But what we look for in this type of situation is stress indicators. And I listen to the words when they're on the stand. I like to know exactly what they're saying, ad verbatim, word for word. So you look for indicators of stress, like sudden type of fidgeting. Maybe the hands will clasp together. You know when somebody's feeling threatened, especially a man, because they'll stroke their throat. Now, men and women show signs of threat differently. Men will rub their throat because it's a non-verbal sign of I'm protecting my vital area, my throat. Women, they touch what's called the suprasternal notch, which is down at the base of your neck. You've got a little notch in the top of your sternum called the suprasternal notch.
All right.
Now, women, when they're talking and they're being honest, they'll cover that with their fingers, with their hand on their chest. That's how you know whether a woman is being really honest with you and opening up, because they'll cover their suprasternal notch.
All right. Well, Uber, I don't know what you were saying, but I appreciate it, because that was
very welcome.
That was an emergency. So, oh, there's Pamela as well. Let me just drag Pamela in. Okay, how you doing, Pam?
I'm good.
Good. So I'm jumping
Pam.
Jumping in on the Diddy case updates for today, because it is getting spicy. There's a lot of names flying around, Pam. There's a lot of names flying around.
Yeah, there has been. Am I the only one that's on today?
Well, I don't. It's not supposed. It's not so much the only one that's on. It's
Yeah.
we're way later than we are usually today.
Okay.
So I keep pushing that button. I want to push that button.
Okay.
So I'm just
Well,
getting. Hang on a second. I'm just getting us up to where today's updates begin. I'm going to read through today's, and then I'll jump back to you, and we'll
yeah, no worries.
get
That's
some
fine.
because I imagine there's some spiciness that you want to talk about. So just let me get through today's, and then we'll jump back to it. Okay, so the government also talked about Capricorn Clark, though not by name, in its opening statement on May 12th. Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Johnson opened the prosecution's statement by talking about an incident during which Sean Combs allegedly broke into a man's home in a fit of jealousy, looking for his on and off girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. We heard about that. Yeah, Johnson described Combs rousing an assistant and enforcing her to go to the man's home, when now known from last week's testimony that the man was the actor musician Kid Cudi. The assistant in this story was very likely Clark. Under the racketeering count, there is an allegation of kidnapping against Combs, and the courtroom discussion on Tuesday morning suggests that up-and-coming testimony will cover this kidnapping charge. Ooh. The government has called Capricorn Clark, a former assistant of Sean Combs, to the stand. Clark is wearing a light-colored, long-sleeve crew neck top and black. Okay, we don't care. Capricorn Clark testified that she worked as an assistant for Sean Combs in 2004 to 2012 after jobs at Def Jam and Death Row Records. Wow. She later came back to work under Combs in 2016, this time as creative director for Cassie Ventura. Clark held that role until 2018. The government also teed up the point it will surely come back to that Clark said she was kidnapped by Combs in December 2011. Sean Diddy Combs kept his cool demeanor when he allegedly threatened to unalive his employee, Capricorn Clark, over her past connection to rival Suge Knight, an ex-employee told the jury on Tuesday. Combs was apparently furious that Clark did not disclose her former employment tonight. A fellow rap entrepreneur who Combs has a deep hatred for, according to the testimony. Clark said that Combs and a large bodyguard known as Uncle Polly brought her to the spot in Central Park to send her menacing messages close to the time she started working for Combs in 2004. Combs told me he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to unalive me, Clark testified. The witness said she continued working with Combs because she felt she could have been more transparent. There was nothing I could do in Central Park to tell him I was a trustworthy person, Clark said. Clark is one of a number of witnesses being called to support the prosecution's theory that Combs and members of his inner circle regularly threatened, abused people, including love interests and members of staff. Capricorn Clark appeared nervous on the stand as she recounted a couple of incidents involving Sean Combs, her former boss. She described one incident at MTV when Combs was doing press with rapper 50 Cent. Clark, Combs, and an entertainment manager who worked for both Combs and 50 Cent got into the elevator afterwards, she recalled. They were having a back and forth, Clark said, recounting the conversation between Combs and the manager. She remembered Combs saying, "I don't like all the back and forth. I like guns." Combs was describing 50 Cent, Clark said, as she perceived his tone as very serious. Capricorn Clark said she developed alopecia due to the stress of working for Sean Combs. Alopecia, which causes hair loss, is an immune disease that can be triggered by a number of causes, including stress. Clark said she was paid $65K a year as a personal assistant. A former assistant to Sean Combs said someone threatened to throw her in the East River over some missing jewelry, according to the testimony given on Tuesday morning. Capricorn Clark was accused of the theft in 2004, a couple of months after she began working for Combs. She said Clark was handed some diamond jewelry that was given to Combs on loan from Jacob Ardo, known in hip-hop circles as Jacob the Jeweler. Combs gave her the bag of jewelry before a flight to Miami. Soon afterwards, she realized the jewelry was missing, Clark said. Combs directed her to stay in New York while he continued to work in Miami. Clark continued, She was accompanied by a security staffer who went back to her home and searched it. The next day, Clark said that she was taken to a building she was unfamiliar with. It would later become the headquarters for Bad Boy Records. She was taken to the 6th floor, in which was dilapidated and unfinished. She said, and directed to sit at a 6-foot-long folding table. The table at the table was a man Clark had never seen before, whom she described as very wide, about 5 of me. Clark estimated by holding her arms outstretched in the man's girth. The man, who was said to be chain-smoking cigarettes and drinking black coffee when she encountered him, gave her a lie detector test and questioned her about the jewelry. Clark testified, damn! Clark was jumpy and nervous, and it was throwing off a lie detector, she recalled. The man told her he would throw me in the East River if she didn't calm down. Oh, you would absolutely crap yourself. Singer and actress Cassie Ventura was paraded in front of the Capricorn Clark and another female employee as Sean Diddy Combs told them that they were too disobedient to get a man like him. Wow. Clark said that Combs called Ventura one of his many girlfriends to the LA home where they were told where they were and told her to spin around and model for them on command. Ventura, one of Combs' main accusers in the trial, followed his order. Did you see that? Combs said to Clark, according to her testimony. That's why you bees don't have a man. Okay. Sean Combs' mother, Janice, is back in the courthouse on Tuesday, her first appearance since the trial began 2 weeks ago. While her absence alongside Combs' children last week raised some speculation online, photos on social media shows that they were celebrating Combs' twin daughter, Jessie and Delilah, who graduated from school on Thursday, and the family all together. Okay. Sean Combs was often violent with his staffers. Capricorn Clark testified noting that he fought with men and women who worked for him. Clark, who worked for Combs in a variety of roles, described Combs as throwing phones at male security staff and a barber he went when he was upset. He also once got violent with her in the summer of 2006, she alleged, while she was staying with him in Miami mansion on Star Island. Other associates of Mr. Combs have testified that it was customary for those working with Mr. Combs to live in his homes. The violence against her, Clark said, was preceded by an incident during which Combs got upset with her for taking too long and getting back after running an errand. See, your problem is you want a life and you can't have that here, Clark said Combs told her at her return. The next day, Clark grumbled at Combs' personal chef that she hates it here after being told there was no turkey bacon. Annoyed, the chef stepped outside the kitchen and relayed Clark's comments to Combs, who was standing in the back deck of his home. He charged me, Clark said. She described Combs running towards her, then pushing her back forcefully by the shoulders. If you hate it here, then get the F out of my house, Clark said. Clark said in a shaky voice as she recalled what Combs told her during the incident. Oh, that's grim. She left Bad Boy Combs' company shortly after and said, that was crossing my boundary, Clark said with her voice teetering. Capricorn Clark is now detailing the incident of allegedly kidnapping in 2011. Clark said that she was kidnapped by Sean Combs after Sean Combs found out that Kid Cudi was dating his on and off girlfriend at the time, Cassie Ventura. This can't be it though, right? This can't be the whole thing. There's got to be more coming, surely. Sean Combs said he was going to unalive Kid Cudi the morning he discovered his relationship with Cassie Ventura. According to the testimony from former personal assistant, Capricorn Clark said Combs banged on her door between 5:30 and 6 a.m. on December the 22nd, 2011. It sounded like metal clanging against the metal door, she recalled. She opened the door and Combs, looking furious with a pew-pew in his hand and his dress slacks ripped at the crotch, Combs entered Clark's apartment with the pew-pew. Why didn't you tell me? Clark recalled Combs saying, referring to Cudi. Get dressed, we're going to unalive him, Combs continued, according to Clark. Clark said that she told Combs she didn't want to go, but Combs said He didn't care. I've never seen anything like this before, Clark says. Combe has never visited her home before, and she never ever seen him with a pew-pew, she testified. Okay. I mean, you could argue that was definitely kidnapping if she feared for her life and he had a gun. Capricorn Clark described a brief car chase that took place the morning Sean Combs allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's home. Clark said that she was swept into the Cadillac Escalade after Combs banged on her door early mornings. She and Combs and a security staffer went in the SUV to Kid Cudi's holiday home. Clark said that they called Cassie Ventura on her burner phone after seeing that Combs and security staffer go inside the homes. Cassie, what the F, Clark recalled saying in her testimony. Clark described Combs coming to her house that morning with her. Like, so if she's saying she's kidnapped and now she's sitting outside in a car and the people that kidnapped her have left the car and gone inside, could you not argue that she should have just left at that point?
Maybe she was too scared.
Okay. Maybe she was locked in as well. Maybe it was like
I have some theory. I have a theory.
Right, yeah. Well, we'll get to you rascals. Just let me finish these. Clark said that Cassie Ventura on her burner phone after seeing Combs and security staff were going to the home. With the gun commenting on Carnigan's house. Okay, yeah. Okay, Cassie, when the phone recalled the testimony, Clark described the Combs coming to her house that morning with a pew-pew, and the Combs had taken Clark to Kid Cudi's house to unalive him. Kid Cudi overheard the conversation and sped from his location, the Sunset Mercury Hotel, to his home. Clark said that she remembered seeing Cudi pull up to the Escalade before speeding up the hill away from the home and the SUV. Combs and the security staffer were outside by the point the Escalade gave chase. Clark said, but Cudi lost them. Their SUV turned around, Clark said, and sirens heading to Cudi's home could be heard blaring past. The sirens appeared to calm Combs down. He said, Clark said, he just started to, maybe for the first time that morning, pull himself together, Clark said. Really? Okay. After learning that Cassie Ventura had a relationship with another famous hip-hop star, Sean Combs brutally kicked her as she lay on the floor in the LA home in 2011. His former assistant testified tearfully on Tuesday. The witness, Capricorn Clark, told the jury that the breaking in the voice that Combs was enraged after he learned in December 2011 that Ventura's romance with Kid Cudi was real, whose real name Scott Mascudi. Ventura was on the ground in full fetal position, Clark said. She wasn't doing anything. She was crying silently. Clark described being too scared to call the police on Combs. She said, who she said had a gun and wanted to kill Cudi. The witness said that she did call Ventura's mother. He's beating the S out of your daughter, Clark said. She told Regina Ventura, I can't call the police, but you can. Please help her. Damn. Like, obviously this is a completely separate incident, but sounds exactly like what we've seen happen in that hotel. Capricorn Clark finished her direct, Oh, the other two girls are here as well. I've just noticed you ladies. I will drag you in a minute. We're almost done. Capricorn Clark finished their direct questioning, discussing at the end of time. A bad boy, Clark said that the report of the events in December 22, 2011, the day she was kidnapped after Sean Combs found out Cassie Ventura had been seeing Kid Cudi. Too bad. The head of human resources and Harvey Pierre, the president of the company at the time. That's crazy, but it's going to be okay, she recalled Pierre telling in his response. Not long after she said she was put on a 30-day notice. After being let go, by now she was a global brand director. She said Combs told her she'd never work again. That'll show her, she said no, she had no friends, and that he'd make me unalive myself, Clark said. She soon lined up a job offer, but that fell through, Clark said. She struggled to find and keep employment afterwards. Clark ended up returning to work as Ventura's creative director in 2016, work she had done at the time of the Cudi incident. She testified that Ventura's substance use had spiked. She testified that Ventura's substance use had spiked during that period and that Combs still approved everything Ventura did. She left the job in 2018. Clark also testified that she had met Combs' attorney in 2024, a few months after Ventura filed her sex trafficking lawsuit. It traumatized me, Clark said of the complaint. During that meeting, Clark said that she and Combs' lawyers discussed what took place in December 2011 and that there were talks about Clark joining Combs to work as his chief of staff and Combs entering rehab. Clark never heard from his attorneys again after the meeting, she said. All right. It was as recently as April 2024 that former employee Capricorn Clark wanted to work for Sean Diddy Combs, who she has accused of abusing her, kidnapping her, and physically tormenting her for years. Yeah. Clark conceded on cross-examination that during a meeting last year with Combs' lawyers, Mark Agnifilio and Tenny Geragos, she brought up wanting to become Combs' chief of staff. Clark also had a lawyer present at the time. Federal investigators have already begun investigating Combs and had executed search warrants of his 2 homes. Clark testified that she was aware of those developments. That discussion of a new job possibly happened about 6 years after Clark left Combs' employment. Clark's last worked for him in 2018, doing a job that involved assisting Ventura in her music career. Clark also testified earlier that Combs threatened to unalive her multiple times and ruin her life if she didn't comply with his various demands. She also said that she was traumatized from watching Combs repeatedly kick a weeping Ventura into a fit of fury over his relationship with Kid Cudi. All right. During the start of the Capricorn Clark cross-examination, Sean Combs was leaning intently over the defense table. His hands clasped on top of it. The Clark is being questioned. Under Combs, Clark's had various positions. She was hired as a personal assistant in 2004 before eventually becoming a global brand director. Anything involving his name and likeness fell under her purview, Clark said. Before they worked together, the pair had a very platonic friendship after meeting through a mutual friend in 2002, according to Clark. Mark Agnifilio, Combs' lead counsel, questioned Clark about the text that she had sent Combs in which she had told him that she had the biggest crush on him. Clark about text she had. Okay. Clark wondered if they had misused all of that dope chemistry in the message. Agnifilio briefly questioned Clark about that earlier period, prompting her to say she remembered those days fondly. He is now asking her about the first year she worked for Combs. Right, we're getting there, people. We're getting there. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilio queried Capricorn Clark about the nature of the work she did for Combs, as well as their relationship. I've not forgotten about these ladies. We're almost there. Clark began to work as a personal assistant and then personal liaison. She testified she was a sounding board for Combs' Vote or Die campaign in 2004. Clark was fired for 3 to 4 weeks that year, she said, after an incident in which a diamond jewelry entrusted to her had gone missing. Clark said that she had held on. Okay. Clark said she was held on a dilapidated floor. We've heard about this. 5 days when the lie detector. Wait. She was held for how long? Clark said that she was held on a dilapidated floor in a bad boy building all day for 5 days.
Yeah.
So all day for 5 days means that like she got home for dinner, right? Must be. All day for 5 days to answer questions while hooked up to a lie detector machine. Agnifilio asked her if she ever went to human resources bad word by the incident. She did not. Right. We're going to need to we're going to need to pull that line of question. We're going to have to go into that because that is worded really odd. As the court was breaking for lunch, the prosecution said it felt that it was ahead of schedule in the presenting its case against Sean Diddy Combs. The government had initially asked for 6 weeks, but it's on pace to finish in 5. A light cheer echoed through the press room. Judge Subramanian has previously said he's aiming to have the case wrapped up by the 4th of July holiday weekend. Sean Diddy Combs, no one cares. And okay, this is this chick. She done the interview on the Cold Underbelly, I think. Is that right? I think I remember watching it. Yes, there you go. Go and check that out. It's right there. Brilliant interview. Mad. Okay. Oh, we're there. We did it. Okay, I think we've got one more update. Okay, Clark questioned about decision to leave Combs in 2006. While cross-examination of Cameron Clark's defense attorney, Mark O'Neill, picked up on a line of questioning, he started before the lunch recess. During, he asked Clark about her decision to stop working for Combs in 2006. On Tuesday morning, Clark said she left her job at Combs' assistant that year after she got violent with her in Miami home. She got a job at Jive Zomba working at projects for R. Kelly and... Okay. It's not a good one. Agnifila asked if Combs was supportive of her leaving, but Clark was non-committal. I didn't remember him giving me support of the move. She said she also seemed to push back on the suggestion that Combs helped her get the job. Agnifilio then asked about the pay bump she got when she was working at Jive and Zomba. Clark seemed to think that Agnifilio was implying that she left her job with Combs to get more money, which she pushed back on. That's not why I was there, Clark said, shaking her head vigorously. All right, let me bring the other two ladies in. Right, first of all, thank you for being patient and going through all of that. Second of all, like and share. How are we all doing in the side chat? How are we all doing on Discord? So first of all, Pam, Stacey, Diane, can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, nice one. Okay, so Pam got here first, right? So I'm gonna just go through you. We're gonna start with Pam. So Pam, how are you today? And I imagine there's been a lot going on with this case that we all want to talk about. So I when I looked at it this morning, there was a lot of names. Okay, we've got the freaking Obama Swedgers, we've got Usher, we've got the chick from the freaking Hunger Games, we've got Oprah.
Huh? Where
I mean, that's.
did you get that information from?
I don't know. It was all in the newspapers.
Was it?
Yeah.
What newspaper?
I'll tell you in a second. Here you go. Jennifer Lawrence and Oprah dragged into the Diddy trial 2 hours ago.
Oh,
Boom.
did you say 2 years ago?
2 years ago. No, not 2 years ago.
No, what did you say? Sorry, I missed it.
I think
2 hours ago. I think you said
2 hours ago.
2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? That must have been when I was modding for you, so I wasn't able to see the updates.
And I haven't
listen
seen
to it. It's your fault, Ron.
So
It's your fault for working your mods too hard. That's
Sorry.
what it is.
What were you saying there?
Saying you're working your mods too hard, mate. That's
Yeah, no,
what it
no.
is.
I heard you, bro. I heard you. It was.
Was it me that you're on about, Ron?
Very possibly.
I said, yeah, sorry, I've been a bit out of it this last couple of hours. I had an urgent appointment at the doctor's and was meant to be calling an ambulance to go to the hospital that I haven't done. So anything from maybe 3 o'clock, I've not really, 2 o'clock, sorry, I've not really seen much of as yet.
Well, I hope you're okay and maybe go and call that ambulance.
No, I'm just going to try and hopefully ride it out. If it doesn't settle down, then I'll call the ambulance.
Oh, all right. Well, okay. Well, I hope you're okay. Definitely call the ambulance. So, yeah, we've got many other celebrities like Michael B. Jordan, Barack Obama, Britney Spears have indeed come up in testimony. We will read through it all. But
there were lots of names from the other day as well, and earlier on this morning, I saw a lot of other names with regarding all the finance side of things with Diddy and his godfather, Ron, Burkle, who's also godfather to all his kids, that's the sugar daddy, basically.
All right.
So
Okay.
lots and lots of information.
Well, okay. Well, Shy, I don't really need to ask you how you are. You sound like you're doing great. You sound great, but I hope you're okay. I really do. Okay. So, Stace, how are you doing today? And what has pinged up on your radar over the last couple of days?
I'm doing good. I've been keeping up with generally what has been getting talked about over the weekend and what's been transpiring so far in court today. And last week when we heard the testimony of Dr. Hughes and Kid Cudi, it obviously struck a nerve with Diddy because his defense team tried to get their testimonies basically removed.
Yeah, there was an urgent filings filed, wasn't it, to have them both removed?
Yeah. And that just goes to show that they're very scared of the impact that both of them are having on the case. And I think we all can agree that their testimonies last week were very impactful. To hear the psychological effects, not only did that help the jurors understand Cassie, but that is also preparing the jurors on how to understand future victims that are going to be coming to the stand, in later part of the case. So it was a great cushion to time it in between. So this way the jury, they don't keep saying, why did all these people stick around, and as far as Kid Cudi, I mean, that arson charge is going to be a big part of the case because, it's one of the allegations for the RICO that is outside of the trafficking situation, so, it's going to be very telling to see when the LAPD, LAFD come to the stand and what they testify as far as that whole situation with the arson with Cudi. They did bring up DNA that was found on the glass in the car. And I'm waiting for that to be brought up during the LAFD investigation, I guess, or the science, the DNA doctor, whoever did the DNA test results for the investigators.
Okay.
Because I think what's going to happen is we're going to see that the DNA is a match to Capricorn Clark. And I think she's, I think.
Sorry, Stacey, I was just going to ask you a tiny little question. Did they actually say that it was? Because I thought they just said it was a female.
They did say it was
of a female, but they didn't actually say it was.
They did say female, but they haven't had the police department or the fire department on stand yet. I would think if the feds have been as strategic as they've been, that those are going to be the next testimonies that we see. Right now, they're doing cross-exam on Capricorn Clark. So hopefully, maybe we'll see another person testify. They should be finishing up with her soon. I know they just got back from lunch, but they started the cross right before going to lunch. So we'll see what happens.
Well, 10 minutes ago, Cassie's been rushed to hospital. So I imagine.
Just
for the baby.
Yeah, I think.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yay!
I think
baby
time. So all the good vibes to Cassie and her baby for sure.
Sorry, I'm doing it again, aren't I?
No, you're all right, Pam. Don't worry, you're good.
Because I was just about to say, didn't he say that if she ends up having her baby, and she won't be able to come back, that they could, like, it would be a mistrial? I think they were referring to the fact that if she was to have the baby in between, and then they need her back, and she won't be able to go on the stand.
Well, I imagine
do you know what I mean?
I imagine it
and
will
they were
depend.
I think what it is is Diddy is trying to get a mistrial. So I think they're just trying to like figure out what's gonna be
Can I
the
just, Ron, can you see that picture there? Sorry, I just want to point this out. Sorry to interrupt there, Pamela. See Diddy standing there in that tux with black bow tie.
Yep.
That is not what we call a Duchenne smile. That's more of a smirk. That's a Duchenne smile. When we smile, should reach the corner of the eyes and cause crow feet.
Okay.
And that's not what we're seeing. And there's nothing. That's just a fake smile. But that's more of a sneer.
Okay.
He either doesn't like the photographer, but that's what a fake smile looks like. There's just nothing around the eyes.
All right.
Sorry, just thought I'd
Sorry.
point that out.
So
what I was just trying to say is that he's just trying. I think they're just kind of clutching at straws and they're trying to get a mistrial. For example, they didn't want, like you already said, they didn't want, even though they'd already testified, they wanted it thrown out. The Kid Cudi interview that they had with him, and then also who else was there? There was something
Dr.
else.
Hughes.
Yes. Because the thing is, because they did find that, okay, then they're kind of so far on a kind of like a losing streak as such. And that was, and for example, if they were to be taken out, then they're obviously going to think that they've got more chance of like him, getting off or,
Their
or
defense,
yeah.
so far the defense team,
Yeah.
their only defense that they have is to just try to remove anything that has some substance. That is a repeated thing that they're trying to do with this trial. Because they know that everything that they're trying to remove is very impactful and heavy on getting this conviction. And, they're trying to set this up for a mistrial, and the feds are being very strategic to try to prevent a mistrial. And so is the judge, by the way. The judge sees exactly what they're doing. And, the judge has given some leniency today when the defense team brought up some issues about things. He did side with them on a few things, because I know the judge is saying, hey, even though I know that these people are a bunch of whats, and I see what they're trying to do, I also want to prevent them from saying that the judge, was unfair and, didn't do his due diligence and so forth. So he's trying to cover his butt as well. And I don't think, considering the charges and the amount of evidence and the fact that the judge is being very careful with how things are run in that courtroom, I don't foresee them being successful in trying to get a mistrial. To be honest with you, with people that are in the courtroom and people that have been talking with insiders, and with knowing that, the feds have given up witness number 2 that disappeared, it just goes to show that the feds have so much evidence and so much in their back pocket that they don't, even if the defense gets some things thrown out and, removed from the trial, they still have more. There's still plenty more that, they can whip out and use against him to get the conviction. And we haven't even gone over the digital evidence. Right now, we're seeing all witness testimony, victim testimony, the testimony of the people that conducted the raids. You can't deny the digital evidence on top of, the jury has already seen a lot of pictures of things. I don't see them being successful at this mistrial attempt. And because they already showed their cards, that gives the prosecutors and the judge the ability to handle them with kid gloves and basically be 2 steps ahead of them, which I'm sure they were already knowing that because of Diddy's connections, his money, the amount of defense that he has on his team, they know that the only way for him to try to get out of this is to try to call for a mistrial.
Yeah.
Because everything is just, it's black and white. You know, I think a lot of people who were saying, where's the RICO? Where's the RICO? Well, between last week and what we're starting to see today, it's being laid out. We're now able to see things more clearly. And it's, you know, it's almost blinding, you know, and very obvious what's going on here. There's been numerous people brought up within the Combs Enterprises, and those people are going to be testifying to save their own butts, you know, or else they're going to have their own issues legally to address, you know.
And also, I think what they're doing, what they were doing today with the Kid Cudi and Capricorn's testimony, I think they're just like basically showing that it isn't just that he was controlling or he treated Cassie wrong. He was doing it to everybody else in his way. He was still having control over, like, I mean, that poor assistant, I don't know how she coped, because even though they pointed out, they did actually point out that she had said that she had a bit of a crush on him. But obviously, once she started working with him, she realized, you know what, this guy is a completely different person. It isn't just smiles and having photos and everything. And he was basically controlling every single thing. With regards to, she was working like so many hours, like from about 9 o'clock every day till about 4 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, and basically she had to go everywhere with him, even though he still had all the people around, like his bodyguards or all the people around him, but he still kind of like kept Capricorn there with him a lot. And it just goes to show she saw a lot of things. And I think what they're trying to emphasize is he basically, people were like working for him, but they were living in fear. And I find that so strange. Like even the you know, the what do you call them, bodyguards, or you know, that he had, even though they would most probably even think like what he's saying, the way he's talking to people, the way he treats them. I mean, the way he treated Capricorn, it was just crazy, and to the point, like you say, that he threatened her a lot. You know, a lot of people say, oh, why didn't she just walk away? But I think she was scared. And also, when you work for Diddy, you get to know a lot of things that, you know, he expects you to like not share that information, obviously. But she was like it was almost like on the job training. She was just like having to do everything from picking up. I think they went somewhere where she picked up some money and brought it over. I think it was in, you know what, I've written all this down, but they're all in different bits of paper.
That's okay. I could talk
Oh,
to it.
You know, I'm referring to when they went and she picked up some money and brought that over.
Yeah, I could talk
to Diddy.
So what happened with that is there was 100,000 euro
That's it.
in a bag, and that was acquired for Diddy appearing at different places while he was overseas. You know, he also had her go fetch him some substances, and she basically had a Spanish bodyguard go get it for her, or find where to get it. There was another mention of prescription drugs being in her name for Diddy. Now, we heard this with the assistant that testified last week. So you see a common pattern of him having prescription drugs in other people's names. You see a pattern of, you know, money crossing the border. there's a pattern of threats. Now, Capricorn
Mm.
Clark, you know, Ron went pretty quick to try to catch everyone up to speed, but
Yeah.
essentially, you know, early on, that remember when we spoke about like that whole missing jewelry situation? Well, Capricorn Clark was one of the people that was accused of stealing jewelry, and she was held hostage essentially for 5 days to do
Yeah.
a lie detector test.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
But
let's
that
just,
also is a running theme with Diddy.
Yeah.
He does
hang
that
on a
repeatedly
second.
with
Hang on
a
a second.
lot of people.
Hang on a second, Pam.
Yeah.
Ladies, can you all hear this noise? Can you
I heard like a scratch sound then.
can you hear a beeping sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so just
Yeah.
just so you know, when you hear that, that means wrap
Yeah.
up your sentence. And
Right.
I need to interject when you get it'll mainly just be to say to tell people to like and subscribe. But let's focus just now on that incident, right? Let's focus on you work for someone, you get driven to a dilapidated 6th floor of a building that then later became the offices for Bad Boy. If that doesn't reek of sketchiness to begin with, but 5 days, I mean, she says she's held all day. Does that mean she's there all day, gets taken home, security guard outside
No.
her house?
She
No,
she wasn't. She was there
wasn't there.
all.
She was
she was there all day, but they did say that she was taken home and then picked up in the morning and then taken home in the evening. So she wasn't
Yeah,
there
for
for the
8
full.
hours.
so
For the
so
but she
then
wasn't there for the full.
So technically, if her contract
Yeah.
says that she's to work a minimum of 40 hours a week, then arguably that was a undisclosed business trip that she was on within of her contractual hours, right?
Yeah. But a lot of the sorry, Ron.
No. But could we
I
not?
was
Could they
just
not
going to say
argue
a
that?
lot of. Sorry.
No, I'm saying, could we not argue that if they'd kept it within her contracted hours, that this could have been seen as some really horrible
Work day. Work week.
internal work investigation, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah. A lot
Well,
of their assistants all stated that they were given ridiculously long
yes.
week time. They were contracted for say 30, 40 hours, but they were doing more like 80 to 100 a week.
And she was another one that testified to that she was only able to get maybe 2 to 4 hours of sleep every day because she was expected to be there all day and all night. And in fact, Diddy said to her, if you work for me, you cannot have a life. This is your life. And refused to let her leave the house until he said she was able to leave, or the office, wherever they were at. She also approached HR about overtime that she had worked, and they calculated that she was owed $80,000 in overtime pay. And when they approached Diddy about it, he ripped up the paper and said, "Screw you," basically. So there you go with the forced labor.
Behavior.
But that's forced labor too, you know.
And the whole trying to get away thing, when she wanted out, everything that she feared could happen happened, in that she ended up making a complaint and said she was going to take legal action, got a payout from the music company. They got her to sign an NDA and everything else. And then once she'd gone, they then let out this whole story that she'd stolen the jewelry and money and everything else, and that she couldn't fight back with that because she'd signed an NDA, and if she had, she would then have got sued, and that effectively damaged her opportunities for working going forward. She's never been a PA for anybody since. She's had other jobs, but she's never been able to get back into that position because of the stain of Diddy and his team saying that she'd stolen things when she hadn't.
Right,
Too much,
okay.
probably.
Yeah,
Too
well,
for the minute.
She'd been blackballed.
Yeah,
When she said
100%.
she
Yeah,
wouldn't get
they-
a job anywhere. She wasn't gonna, and that's one of the reasons why she ended up going back to him anyway, because that was the only way she could work because no one would give her a job. So, you know, a lot of people could turn around and say, well, why are you going back? If Diddy's like treated you like crap and he's threatened you and he said this, that, you know, basically, and you've worked all the hours God sends and he, you know, and he's still like treating you like rubbish. People could easily say, well, just get up and go. But it wasn't that easy for her because
No.
when she did leave, it was a case of she couldn't get a job. And he has the power to blackball anybody, whether it's like somebody working for him or whether it's somebody in the music industry. He has that much control. So I think, I mean, the poor, you know, even when she was asked like how many times did he threaten you, she basically said he threatened her about, you know,
50 times
times, you
in a
know,
matter of
and
like 10
so-
months.
yeah. So could you imagine how she was, you know, like she must have been like, I mean, to be able to work with him, she must have, every day must have been a nightmare for her, to be fair. And she lived in fear. And she was doing all this stuff that was legal when it came to getting money for him, you know, shopping around, getting prescription medication in her name. Do you know what I mean? I think he did, if I remember rightly, have prescription medication in his own name, didn't he, Stacey?
Yeah.
You think? Can you remember?
He
Yeah.
used an alias as well as his name, as well as former
Oh, yes,
assistants'
Frank Black.
names, and
He
he
literally
used
all the tricks in the book.
anything.
All the tricks in
Yeah.
the book, Stacey.
Yeah.
All the
Yep.
tricks in the book. 100%. It's
And
I mean, every assistant had the same story. Sorry, please like and subscribe, everyone, to the channel.
my guy.
Um,
My guy.
Good
brain-
one,
There's no
Shannon.
point in me being here. On you go, girls. Crack on.
Sorry, I just got that in
Subscribe.
before I went on to the next point. My brain's scrambled at the minute. We're not being 100%, but his previous bodyguard wanted out and he couldn't get out, and he ended up was one of the only ones that got out fairly easily, given how it normally goes with Diddy, in that his dad got cancer. So he was able to use that as the excuse of why he had to leave, because he tried a couple of times before and it wasn't happening. And that's when he then hired the English male assistant, the one that basically bigged him up on his testimony. I can't think of his name right now.
the one that was on last week,
Yeah.
that was, hold on a sec.
Is it George somebody?
George Kaplan.
That's it, yeah. He was the one that was like, he was like a god or something.
Yeah.
He was the only one that kind of, he said he had a lot of stuff to do that he didn't want to do, but he's the only one really that hasn't come out with horror stories as such.
Well,
But the others have had a very difficult time, and it's just a pattern across the board, be it financially, physically, emotionally, how he is with everybody.
yeah, he used threats in whatever way that he could get away with everybody. You know, you see a pattern of him threatening people's lives, threatening people's jobs, you know, threatening their families, you know, anything that he could do to get his way, you know, and this is all like, you know, systemically part of the RICO, you know, is how he's using everyone to run his enterprise and, you know, using his enterprise name to do illegal things. You know, he had people doing a lot of the dirty work as far as the illegal activities, right?
Yeah.
But he was threatening, right? Other people were doing this under force and coercion.
Yeah.
They weren't doing it because they wanted to do it, because they were the ones who were benefiting from it. They were doing it because they were threatened.
Yeah,
you
they had
know?
no choice. No
And
choice.
also, a lot of the money that he's made, a lot of the deals that he did, they were all through this Ron Burkle. He gave $100 million for him to push forward his clothing line and everything.
Yep.
There's been over 30 people that have helped financially with him to get going. But every time that he's done any big deal, it's always been through Ron Burkle, and it's been Ron Burkle's money that he has used. But it's never been said that it was him. It's always been that it was Diddy, and it hasn't been. And that Ron Burkle is known as the billionaire playboy. He's been at all the parties, all the venues, hosted and paid for a lot of them as well. And he's also connected with Epstein, Clinton, all of the big names that are all connected. And that Ron Burkle's got his fingers in that many pies that he's basically got control over everything. He's an absolute mega financier, and it's been a lot of him that's helped facilitate where things have gone, which also brings in all the financial side of the RICO, which is why they're having a lot of different names and all these threads of where money's going separately. It's
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet, but I
Yeah.
think we're going to hear a lot of that when Christina Karam testifies, because I just can't see them not bringing her on the stand.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that, Ron. I
they
didn't
brought-
know what that meant.
All right, ladies,
They brought her up.
we've got a couple of updates, ladies. Sorry to interject.
Mm.
Capricorn has been an interesting and very animated presence on the stand, a member of Sean Diddy Combs' inner circle for years. Clark appeared nervous and emotional at times. She choked up, recalling several violent incidents involving Combs, and again, when describing how much she loved her work as a creative director, at times, Clark appeared to shrink in her chair. But Clark also seemed self-assured under the cross-examination, pushing back on questions from Combs' attorney. She was especially confident when talking about her work and recalling various meetings and personalities. Clark's nails were also notable. The former creative director occasionally talked with her hands, and she was sporting long, dark, pointed nails. Okay. Casa Ventura became more entitled, less devoted to her career. When she began dating Sean Combs, his former employee testified in cross-examination. Capricorn Clark, who held various positions for Combs' companies and Ventura's expectation levels, was increasing, as if her status had changed by dating Combs. Years after she was his employee, Combs hired Clark back to assist Ventura on his recording label. She got a little bit more bravado being his girlfriend the longer it lasted, Clark testified, adding that sometimes she thought I was being paid to help her. Part of Clark's answer was she struck from the record after prosecution objected. She went from being a sweet model to feisty girlfriend, Clark said. The defense argued that while Ventura was physically abused by Combs, she was not transported and took part in freak-offs voluntarily. Okay. They have said that she was heavily focused on being around Combs as much as possible, but was never forced to do anything. Ventura has been driven by chronic jealousy over the fact that Combs was never fully committed to her. His defense team have suggested. Clark's testimony could serve to suggest that Ventura carved the stature that came with being in a romantic relationship with Combs. All right, whoever it was, I cut off.
have to add.
I'll
I
circle
have
back.
to add to that.
Please do.
So I don't know if you caught it.
people. Sorry,
What was that?
Stacey.
Oh, that's okay. Earlier in the testimony today, the one thing that came up was that Clark knew that Diddy was staying in hotels. It sounded like he was staying in hotels pretty much all week long.
Mm.
He would have Kim Porter in a hotel with him for a few days, and then he would have Cassie at a hotel room for a few days. So, you know, it sounds like Kim Porter was also subjected to these freak offs as well. You
Can I
know,
just chuck something in, and then you ladies can have the floor because I'm going to go anyway. Couple of things I did note during that when they said that she shrunk back in her chair. That's normally an indication they're feeling dejected and they're feeling under attack. So she's moving backwards in her chair to create distance subconsciously. So she was probably being interrogated. But this is what we all saw coming, and this is what another thing that I said last week was, you know, they're going to start character assassinating, then they're going to start ripping it to pieces, and this is just the beginning of it. I can see Cassie in for a really tough ride here, and it's what the defense are basically trained and paid to do. So we're just going to
Absolutely.
just strap in and get ready for a rough ride, I reckon. So yeah, that's all I've got on that. You ladies have the floor.
No problem.
So,
Okay.
love being here. Much love, peeps. I'm going to have to go. Tuck you bye.
They bother about. Take it easy,
have a
brother.
good day, Uber.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy, brother.
Um,
All right, ladies, crack
please
on.
like and subscribe, everybody. Let's get the numbers up.
That's it. Good lad.
So Uber is right. You know, they already started character assassinating Cassie, and they're doing it while Clark is still on cross-examination. You know, they were asking her, like, you know, was Cassie a hard worker and yada yada? Was she talented? And Capricorn Clark was like, well, talented to me is Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. Cassie was not that. She was, you know, she needed the studio to equalize her sound and her tone. And basically,
Which is ironic. It's ironic because I've seen yesterday, I think it was, a video where Capricorn was saying how close she and Ventura were. So it's funny how they changed their stories. But the assassination is going to be, and as I said to you the other day, Stacey, I do think that unfortunately, although the FBI are going to be on the case of checking everyone, protecting everyone, especially those that they've got to testify, it is still going to be in the back of the minds, the reach of Diddy and what being part of this could lead to for them going forward. You know,
well, Capricorn, you know, spoke of as well today about how there was an incident, you know, when Diddy found out about Kid Cudi, they were back at Diddy's house and he was beating the crap out of Cassie. And there was a security guard there as well as Capricorn Clark. And Capricorn wanted to step in and defend her. And Diddy said, if you try to defend her, you're going to get the same thing too. You know, and eventually the security guard told Capricorn to leave. And as she was leaving, because Diddy had dragged her out, Diddy dragged Cassie outside and, you know, was like kicking her in the back and in the stomach and all this stuff.
I've seen that one.
As Capricorn was leaving, she called Cassie's mother and said, he's beating the shit out of your daughter. I can't call the cops. You need to do it. You know, because obviously that phone belonged to Diddy, so he would find out where the call came from, you know?
It was a phone, wasn't it?
No, Capricorn Clark's phone was a phone that Diddy
Cassie
paid
had
for.
one, didn't she? Yeah, no,
So,
sorry.
So the mother, you know, then said, I'll take care of it, and hung up. So, you know, it just goes to show we're hearing, again, another incident where the security guards have been witnessing, you know, whether it's immoral, violent, illegal activity, and they're not stepping in, they're allowing it to happen. And that's part of the RICO, you know,
and that's across the board. Everybody has stood by to the majority and let Diddy do all of these things to all of these people because they benefited at the time, or it was they feared repercussions on themselves. But it's got this far because there's been too many people turning a blind eye at everything all across the board, all along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Capricorn quit after that incident took place, by the way. You
Yeah.
know, and
Was that the last
when,
time?
well, that was the first time she quit.
Yeah, because
And
then she came back, didn't she?
yeah, and it was under the guise of she was going to be working directly with Cassie, not
Cassie.
with Diddy.
Mm,
So that was how he got her to agree to it.
yeah.
But yeah, you know, in between all of that, you know, one, she got a payoff. They tried,
Mm.
you know, when she went to HR and I wrote down the name. She went to uh um Harv Pierre, one of the chief executives of Bad Boy, and told them about the
President.
incident. He was like, "Oh, that's crazy, but don't worry, everything will be okay." And
Oh,
then
yeah.
next thing you know, she gets, you know, a 30-day notice that she's being terminated, and she lost everything. She lost her house,
Yeah.
her car, everything. And so I'm sure Harv Pierre will get dragged onto the stand because, you know, not only is it KK that has been brought up in regards to people directly working for Combs Enterprises or Bad Boy.
Well, he's the
Now we're
president,
hearing
isn't he?
Harv Pierre.
He's the president of Bad Boy Records.
There was somebody else that was president, but he's that person. I forget his name right now. He's definitely being brought in.
Mm.
But Harv Pierre, everyone's been suspecting that he'll be brought in because of the fact that he was there for so long, and they know that he knows stuff. You know, so
I think basically everybody knows.
yeah,
Everybody knows what's been going on. Everybody's just basically to them. It's just for example, the security guards and everybody around him. They're just doing their job, even though it's what he's doing is wrong. They're turning a blind eye to it, but to them, they're mostly thinking, well, this is just my job. I don't need, I do my job and that's it. I don't need to like get involved in anything that Diddy's doing, which is illegal. And I mean, he spent his whole life, everything's just illegal, like you say. Um, I just think he's just crazy because he's just such a control freak that he thinks that he's like some kind of mafia boss, that he's
yep.
treating people like they're beneath him, and that he's just like literally clicking his fingers and they're having to do. I mean, they don't even question it. No one questions anything because as far as they're concerned, they just got a job to do. And like you say, they most probably have that fear as well. Because I can imagine him just threatening everybody because that's just him. I think that's just the way he is. Even if he had the best like people around him, I think that's just him. That's his nature. And he just
Oh,
really thinks very highly of himself. And he thinks that he can talk to anybody how he wants to talk to anybody. He can do whatever he wants to do. And that's it. And no questions asked. And he doesn't, take any advice from no one. As far as he's concerned, that's it. It's him. And you work for him and you do what he wants you to do, regardless whether you're tired, whether you're not tired, whether you're doing more hours than you're supposed to be doing. He doesn't care. Because as far
But
as he's concerned, it's about him.
that's because everybody else's actions around him have given him that, because he's done all these things, he's said all these things, he's been who he's been, and nobody's really challenged him. He's not going to think, well, I shouldn't do this because he's got away with it. So that is him thinking, this is me. I can do what I want and say what I want because I am, in his words, basically God, because
Yeah.
nobody has ever challenged him. And I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about his daughters being in court and how it's affected them and things. But I was
they haven't been in court since last week.
Yeah, I found it
but they had
interesting.
graduation too, so it'll.
Yeah,
We'll have to
his
see what
son-
happens after next week if they come
Yeah.
back.
but his son Justin, I mean, like I was saying, a lot has been made about the girls and how they're feeling with the case and everything, and obviously they've been going to support the dad. But Misa Hilton, which is Justin's mum, she was the lady that went in with the walker with the leg brace on at the beginning with the long braids. She has only attended court because Justin's been finding it difficult, and he said to his mum, "Mommy, I need you." And so she's been attending court, not to support Diddy, but to support her son, because first and foremost, she's a mum, and regardless of anything else, she's going to be there for her child. And even a lot of this is all about his employees or girlfriends or things like that. But the ripples spread out way further with everybody. It's not just the people direct, it's the knock-on effect to everybody. And it's just heartbreaking that it's been allowed to get to this level, and that so many lives have been hurt or destroyed
Yep.
by allowing this to happen.
Yep, I agree.
Please
Yeah.
like and subscribe, everybody.
Yeah, there's some really interesting like just tidbits here. Diddy making millions from prison with high-end services, renting out his private jet. He's allegedly made 4.1 million since his arrest.
Really?
Apparently
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Do you know
No,
the name of his plane?
It's
No,
probably called
no.
Bad Boy.
Yeah, so
Something stupid. It'll be
it's
always something stupid.
it's a Gulfstream G550 registered to his company Love Air LLC, has been used
Oh,
by
boy.
unwitting clients
Okay.
at least 126 times. So hang on a second, right? So if we take 126 and divide it by 4.1 million, we'll get the average cost of a private jet. But yeah,
So he's not broke then.
It's Air FUCK1.
is it?
Yeah, that's the name that it goes under by
Wow.
those in the know.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
That they've all used many times going to Epstein Island as well.
Here, listen, that's another
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Going back to the 5 days of interrogation and lie detector,
Mm.
we forgot about the lovely tidbit that she was told that, hey, if you fail this, I'm going to throw
We're
you
going to
in
throw
the-"
you in the
Throw you
East
in the
River.
Right?
Yep.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I was trying to get that in before.
Yeah, it's
That poor woman.
yeah, it's a bit of a mad one. Like, it's hard to
Mm.
sort of
Now, on top of that, during that whole situation, he told when he had Capricorn Clark call Cassie to get Cassie to come down and meet them. You know, she was very scared over the phone and said, you know, you have to come here. He has me and he's not going to let me go. And essentially, when they were all together, you know, when they were waiting to get Cassie, he told Capricorn, if you don't get Kid Cudi to not file a police report or to not mention my name in the police report, then all of you are going to get, erased, I guess you can say. Yeah.
Unalive.
All of you are going to get wiped out.
you're gonna get pneumonia. It's going to be another one of those
Yeah, right.
situations.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, but can
I'm
you
telling you.
imagine?
Hang on a second, right? So, can I just remind everybody of something, right? And I'm sorry, you're just gonna
I
have
keep
to.
butting in, don't I?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely fine, Pam.
I'm sorry, Ron.
No, you're doing fine today, Pam. Don't worry.
Okay.
Absolutely fine. Now, I just wanted to show you all something. Do you guys remember when this happened? Right? When Jesus Guerrero, right, suddenly died, who is like a hairstylist and makeup artist
For J-Lo, yes.
for J-Lo, right?
Suddenly got pneumonia.
Well, did he? Because they've not because apparently they've not released. They've tried to play this gastrus thing right? Gastrocystis. They've said, oh, he was. Do you know what that is? I just want to show you what Google says. Gastrus is a common condition where your stomach becomes inflamed. Okay.
Yeah, gastritis.
It's a matter of changing some dietary things, and like they are trying to make us all think that had something to do with the test, but he suddenly passed away. Now, I'm not saying anything, right? But what's that about? Like, what's going? Like, I just want everyone to remember this guy and the fact.
I think they did that. Sorry.
On you go, Pam. What are you saying?
Sorry, Ron.
No, you're good, mate. You're good.
And I was just about to say, because they did end up turning around and saying that he had been poorly for a while.
Yeah.
And then they put it down to that. But obviously, a lot of people are saying, hang on a minute, this is a bit suspicious.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because he was so young as well. He was really, really young, wasn't he, when he passed away?
Yeah, and they said it was sudden. It was sudden.
Yeah.
And they've not given I mean, don't get me wrong. There might be something else online that says that they have given a statement and it was pneumonia or whatever. But it's a bit bizarre. It's a bit bizarre. And I'm not saying anything about anything. This just jumped back into my memories today.
Dropping like flies.
A lot of them are all fit and healthy normally, and then lo and behold, coming down with these very similar conditions out of the blue.
Now, I just want
to allegedly.
Can I also say, so just while I can remember, like he pointed out to Capricorn that obviously he basically said that he was gonna go and kill unalive Kid Cudi, and for some reason also he didn't.
Can I just finish my point on this before you take us back around, Pam? So it also says he'd been working with Jenny basically been working with J-Lo in Abu Dhabi just days before his passing.
Yeah.
And
yes,
I'm not saying anything, but if anybody can get any updates over the next day or two or find anything on this guy, anything at all, I would greatly appreciate it if you would just stick it in the Gen chat of the live call-in server for us. And Pam, circle us back to the Diddy case. Take it away.
Did I say, Ron? What was I saying?
You were.
I was just, like he's got this thing about he likes guns, and he kind of pointed that out, and he told I was just about to call her Courtney, Capricorn. I'm talking about, and also that he had. He seems to have issues with a lot of people, and I think like with Kid Cudi, the whole car blowing up, but they made out that he had nothing to do with it. Obviously, that's being like dealt with. I think they're still looking into that, aren't they? But he kind of like has basically said he wasn't anywhere near there, but apparently he was. I mean, he didn't do anything himself because he tells everybody else to do it.
Well, yeah, so he's not going to get his own hands dirty.
And what's really strange is when he pointed out that he didn't like 50 Cent. Like, I don't know. Like she made a point of actually pointing out that he didn't like 50 Cent and that he liked guns, and that's how he rolls. So it just does make you think, like, what was he planning? Maybe it's the fact that he's such a big star, 50 Cent is, and it seems that anybody that's remotely more famous than him, he kind of wants to get rid of.
Yeah, keep in mind as well. Keep in mind as well. We're talking about 100 millionaire, almost billionaire. Do you know how many stupid ideas you and me and everyone else in the world has had whilst we're intoxicated, right? But we don't act on them for budgetary reasons and fear of prison, right? Can you imagine like how many half-ass schemes this guy forgot he even started, right? Yeah. We're rolling out throughout the Didysphere. I mean, I imagine that there is so many nearly like close. Does anyone else remember that scene in is it Goodfellas where at one point they were deciding if somebody was going to get whacked, and it was like the difference between a thumbs up or a thumbs down at the dinner table, and just because the guy was funny that night, he didn't get whacked, right? It gives me vibes like that where the staff are all sitting on edge. There's someone in that room who doesn't know what fate could come to them, and depending on how good they are socially that evening will depend on the outcome. And
that's it. It's like they're living in fear. All the time.
Yeah.
They live in fear.
100%.
It's like they're walking on eggshells because they don't want to upset him in any way.
Yeah.
And that's why people haven't challenged his behavior or how he spoke to people or whatever, because they all have in the back of the mind, they know exactly what he's capable of and what he'll do at literally a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to take a moment to acknowledge Bailey, who is asking me for a witness list. So can we take a breather so I can address Bailey? And I'm sure other people are curious as to.
I'll let you do that, Stacey. We've got about 10 minutes left, so if you can fill it all into 10 minutes, that would be great. If not,
it'll take me just a few.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say.
Please like and subscribe, everyone, though, please, before the end of the stream.
Cheyenne, you are gold star on the remembering things that Ron rants about. But yeah, if Stacey, if you could go through the witness list, if you've got it, or if you're preparing it or whatever, that would be great.
Yep.
I'm just going to go and check something in the oven before I set my house on fire. I'll be back in a minute.
All right. So far, we have the security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel was the first one called to stand as a witness. We have Cassie as victim number 1, Dawn Richard as witness, Kerry Morgan, another witness, Kid Cudi, which is witness/victim, Dr. Hughes, the first doctor being called to stand, David James, which is employee number 1, George Kaplan, employee number 2, Regina Ventura, witness. And by the way, Cassie is also a co-conspirator. Okay. We have Homeland Security agent Josh Croft, which is the computer forensic detective. Mila Morales, Cassie's former makeup artist. Frederick Zamor, the hotel manager from the fancy Beverly Hills Hotel. Gerard Gannon, the Homeland Security agent that raided the Florida house. Capricorn Clark, who is a witness/co-conspirator. We will hear from the LAPD and the LAFD. Well, I don't know if it's going to be today. I know last week they were ending at 3:30 for the day. And I know this week the judge laid out a schedule. I can't remember if this week they were going to stick to the 3:30 timeframe or if they were going to 4. But well, if not today, then tomorrow we'll hear from them.
Okay.
So we're expected to hear from them. We also, I assume, the computer forensic agent is going to come back to discuss what was found on the hard drives that he investigated.
Yes.
We can expect that the security guards that have been brought up multiple times, which is Uncle Paulie and Ruben, will probably be brought to stand as witnesses/co-conspirators. Christina Karam and Harv Pierre as co-conspirators/witnesses. We also have 2 other victims that have not ran away or been bribed, and we have minor victim 1 and 2. So these are the people that I can definitely say we're going to hear from. And if there's more, we'll have to wait and see. I think if there's more, it'll probably be more security guards that witness things, maybe more assistants that we haven't heard from yet.
Okay.
More people within the enterprise, but definitely, Christina Karam coincidentally,
Seen that
she
a lot.
worked for Diddy for like 15 years and only stopped working for him after the house raid. So the feds definitely got to her and told her, if you don't cooperate, you're going down with them. So
Don't you think, can I just say, don't you think it's strange that there are certain people that have actually said that they've got, they know a lot about the things that Diddy's been doing and they've got receipts, but they haven't been like questioned or subpoenaed. And one person that I thought that would be really, that I would have thought that they would have on the stand was the Aubrey O'Day, because she's been very vocal over the years about Diddy, and she's always stated when she's been in like like when she's had like little interviews that she, at first at the beginning of the trial she kind of kept a little bit stum, but now it's a case of she actually turned around and said that there's a lot of things that he did do, and that she had receipts for them. But it's like, I don't know if she's been paid off, because now she's not saying anything. It's like it's just gone quiet. Like she's not
I
being
think we
negative.
have to.
And in the past, she's been very vocal when it came to Diddy. It was
are you
like,
talking about Gina?
sorry,
Are you talking about Gina?
I'm talking about Aubrey O'Day that was in Danny to Kelly.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, and because like Diddy had issues with her, she was kind of like the one that that never really stuck to the rules, and they did have
Aubrey
issues.
O'Day she's got her own, credibility issues.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jealousy between her, her being jealous of Dawn Richard.
Yeah.
And she has not been subpoenaed to testify.
No.
So the feds do not want her for their own reasons.
All right.
But this is why I'm saying it is, why don't they want her? Because if she's actually saying in interviews that she's got receipts, she knows she knows a lot of things that actually went on.
But she spoke too much about it in public. That's why they won't call her.
Maybe
They can't. They can't use anyone that's publicized information like that, or else we would have. Listen, Gene Deal has spoken a lot in public about things he witnessed. He can't get called to the stand because he's done so many interviews, and the defense can use that against them.
All right, ladies, just I'm sorry to interject. We've got about 2 minutes left, and there's a couple of things I need to cover. So I just want to say thank you all on Discord for being here today. We will be back tomorrow, and hopefully we'll pick up with you ladies then as well. But as always, thank you so much for everything you bring. So I really do appreciate all of you. I hope you have a good evening. But look, one thing you all need to be aware of throughout this Diddy case and throughout any celebrity case like this is we have our new version of false flags or individuals who want to cash in by creating false narratives, false news. We've seen it for years with real accusations, people making false claims against people. But now we're seeing millions and millions of views, hundreds and hundreds of your hours being sunk into AI generated propaganda circulating the Diddy case. And we've seen it happen this week with Oprah and Jennifer Lawrence. We are talking about massive viral videos spreading this kind of false narrative. It is one of these things that is becoming a new legal gray zone. Very recently, in my software that I use for AI creation, they have banned the use of any celebrity name. Now, during the Royal Mess era, I used to AI generate all my thumbnails of Meghan Markle and the royal family. Now, you are not able to do that. There is a lawsuit involving Theo Von for $30 million because somebody who he does not know put his face over a video of the hitchhiker hatchet guy from Netflix who's in jail for unaliving people. But we're seeing a case now where Theo Von had nothing to do with the meme being distributed. He never created it, but it's his face. So we're going to start seeing a new legal precedent being brought in for these AI false news, AI generated channels. Now, I love AI. I'm here for it all day. But that's one I wanted you to be aware of. Now, you'll have seen things like this. These are the thumbnails. These are what they look like. Just learn what you're looking at, people, because
Absolutely.
there's still a lot of people on Facebook losing their mind over giant owls that they think are real pets. All right. So look, I just want to say thank you to all the thank you to Uber, thank you to the ladies, thank you to the mods, thank you to the Sean Atwood channel.
Thanks, Ron.
I'll see you tomorrow for more of the United Kingdom becoming a police state, moving into more content.
Yes.
I have no idea what else it's going to be, but tomorrow it's going to be one big show, I think, instead of two separate shows. I'll see you then. You're all awesome. Like and share. Peace. And I'll see you in the next one, guys.